Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode here on the 5571 podcast. My name is Danny, and for those that don't know, this is a podcast all about what's new and what's happening here at the Disneyland Resort. And I wanted to start off this episode just talking about the latest news and also going into some of the closures. We haven't talked about a lot of the closures, and there's quite a few coming up on the roster that can really impact your visit to Disneyland Resort or your vacation. So I wanted to discuss some of those, but let's go ahead and jump right into the news. Starting off first, I wanted to talk about Oogie Boogie Bash. So tickets already went on sale for Oogie Boogie Bash for the Inspire Key. And then the next day, which is today, the day the podcast is coming out, it's going to be on sale for all Magic Key holders. And then the next day, the day after this podcast comes out, is going to be on sale for the general public. Now, a lot of the days did sell out during the Inspire Key release, but not all of them have sold out completely. And for the next Magic Key Day, a lot also did sell out as well too. It seems to be like most of the key days. So opening night, October 31st, some of the days and weekends in October, some of the days during the week in October that are less expensive. Some of the tickets can go as high as $200. So there's really a variety of ticket prices for this event. And it tends to be that like the most iconic days sell out first, and then the most cheapest days sell out first, the ones during the week. If you're wondering how they verify that you are a Magic Key holder, well, you have to be logged into your Disneyland account in order to purchase the tickets. And if you have a Disneyland Magic Key, it's going to be linked to the account. So they're going to know if you are an eligible Magic Key holder to purchase tickets on the day this is releasing for all Magic Key holders. So keep in mind, there has been a queue, but it hasn't been as long as it has been in the past. For myself personally, I don't think I'm going to be attending Oogie Boogie Bash this year. I'm going to love seeing what people share online with it. I know that for most people, though, this is the only way their kids can trick or treat. A lot of parents don't feel safe with just having kids trick or treat nowadays, just in general. And so this is a safe space for kids to go dressed in costume with their parents, go trick or treating, get candy. So I can understand why it has a huge draw for a lot of people. I think Disneyland will offer this sort of event always, whether it's at Disneyland or at DCA. It just kind of depends. There were a lot of rumors swirling and surrounding about this being the final year of Oogie Boogie Bash, at least maybe for a small hiatus. While they worked on a ton of construction over at Disney California Adventure Park for things like the Avatar Destination, Avengers Campus expansion, and of course the new Coco attraction, which could potentially take parades offline at DCA just for a little bit, or potentially maybe even forever. We don't know. So there were a lot of rumors saying maybe this would be the final year of Oogie Boogie Bash. We haven't heard that directly confirmed yet from Disneyland, and I doubt they're going to actually say it's the last year, although I feel like it would really help sell tickets if it did, because even if it wasn't coming back for, say, 5 years or so, I think people would really want to clamor and buy tickets for something like that if they knew it was going to be gone for a while. Maybe they couldn't experience things like Villains Grove or some of the special villains meet and greets that they have during these events that they don't normally offer during regular park hours. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some more information about that once Disney reveals who the brand new villains are. Tickets already went on sale, of course, and we still don't know who the 2 new villains are. That's always been something I didn't like about Oogie Boogie Bash, was that tickets went on sale and you didn't know who the new villains were. They didn't release the villains or give you a clue as to who they were. Anytime during ticket sales, they just go on sale and you kind of have to blindly hope that they're going to be good. We know we're going to get 2 new villains. One's going to be in the Pixar Promenade area of the Pixar Pier, and the other is going to be in the Grizzly River Run area, that kind of back Grizzly Peak area behind the attraction. We've had Mother Gothel there in the past, and of course on Pixar Pier in the Pixar Promenade, we've had Sid from Toy Story. So those 2 villains are going to be replaced this time around with all new ones, so we'll have to see who they are going to replace them with. A lot of rumors also speculating that maybe the Pixar villain in the Pixar Pier area is going to be Syndrome from Incredibles, which would be really cool. I think he'd be an awesome option. Sid from Toy Story is very, kind of out there making fun of guests, being really angry and mean, kind of just how he is as a character. And I feel like Syndrome could also be that, right? He slings a lot of insults towards Mr. Incredible, makes fun of him. He's been picked on a lot himself, so it causes him to kind of lash out. So I feel like he'd be a good replacement for Sid, because he could also pick on people who were dressed up and walking around, just like Sid used to do when you were getting candy from him in Pixar Pier. But what do you know, or or excuse me, what do you think? Are you guys going to be buying tickets for Oogie Boogie Bash, regardless of whether or not this is the final year? Is this just something that you always like to do because of the safe trick or treating, or just the family atmosphere for you and your children to go to a Halloween event at a theme park? Let me know in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're planning an upcoming trip to Disneyland Resort, I wanted to mention this next new change for Disney Lightning Lane service. So when you're purchasing Lightning Lane Multipass, you've had the brand new option to actually use Pirates of the Caribbean for a bookable attraction when purchasing the service. However, starting on July 1st, they're actually going to be stopping Pirates of the Caribbean as an option to book for Lightning Lane Multipass. It's just going to be standby only for this attraction. If you guys have been anywhere in and around Pirates of the Caribbean anytime during midday when it's super crowded, or even during Fantasmic, this is a huge pinch point for Disneyland. It always has been. Pirates of the Caribbean truly just doesn't have the space to accommodate the crowds that usually love this attraction. And when you put something like Lightning Lane in, which ultimately makes the standby line longer, it just really is a recipe for disaster when it comes to crowd control in that area. So I know Disney would love to have this as a bookable option for Lightning Lane Multipass because it just makes it all that much better. I know they were also doing it too when we had attractions down like Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and other bookable attractions that were down for refurbishment that are now back up. So they used kind of Pirates of the Caribbean to kind of fill that void in the time being. But I know ultimately Disney would love to have that as a bookable option because it just makes it more appealing when it comes to selling it as a product. And we've also had rumors too from our friends like Scott Gustin and other people on Twitter and just in the rumorverse surrounding Disneyland that we'd have some sort of new extended queue built for Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, more recently, we lost the Le Baton Rouge store, which was the store right next to the Royal Street Veranda food location right there at the exit of Pirates of the Caribbean. And it was turned into kind of a little jazz club where you can sit and have additional dining for the Royal Street Veranda. Royal Street Veranda had like 8 tables or so that were very small, all huddled together, and there wasn't really a lot of dining space there. And so adding this new gift shop turned into a dining room really expanded the space for that area. But we heard rumors that this was just a temporary stopgap, that this was only for a short time while Disney figured out a way to incorporate a more permanent extended queue for Pirates of the Caribbean that would utilize that space along with the Royal Street Veranda. Now, we did see the soups at Royal Street Veranda get transferred, so that could be essentially a first step, a test from Disney to see if people will go to a new location for that. So if you remember Harbor Galley did serve soups in and of itself on its own, like the gumbo, and then of course they have the famous cookies that everyone loves to go and get, but they now serve all of the soups from Royal Street Veranda. They do not have any clam chowders or any of the broccoli cheddar soups or anything like that at Royal Street Veranda anymore. They're only found at Harbor Galley, which is over across from Haunted Mansion. And this will be the new permanent spot for like soups in a bread bowl at Disneyland in that area. Now, you can get gumbo over at Tiana's Palace restaurant. I don't think it comes in a bread bowl, though, if I remember. It just comes in a regular dish. So that's kind of a bummer if you're trying to get a bread bowl on that. But they do have some delicious cornbread at Tiana's Palace that pairs very well with that. But all that's to say is that they've kind of moved the location. So right now, Royal Street Veranda as a location really just serves kind of quick grab and go things. They've had like little potato bites. More recently, they've had a pretty viral chicken slider sandwich that uses beignets as the buns. And it's made its rounds on social media and people really have been liking it. So this is kind of the location for that. And also people tend to walk around the corner with their beignets and eat them at this location as well too. And for a short period, they were also selling beignets. In fact, I don't even know if they are doing beignets at all at that location anymore, but they were. However, we'll have to wait and see if, what the future of this location is going to be. Like I said, rumors were that it was going to close some point in the future, along with that gift shop that has now been turned into a dining space, along with potentially the other space next to the Pirates of the Caribbean gift shop, potentially be turned into a little bit more of an outdoor permanent extended queue, maybe an indoor section for Pirates of the Caribbean. We'll have to see. There's been a lot of rumors, for New Orleans Square changes on the docket, but it's all rumor, right? Until Disney actually confirms anything. And I don't think changes will be coming to New Orleans Square anytime soon. So I think the reason them using the store as temporary dining space is a great stopgap for the time being, while they no longer sell merchandise there and wanted to have it as a usable space for something that's still relevant. Some other news for your upcoming trip is the Pixie Hollow location will finally reopen for meet and greets. There's been so many rumors that Tinkerbell was permanently discontinued as a meet and greet location at Disneyland, but our good friend Scott Gustin actually posted on Twitter just today, and he said the Tinkerbell Pixie Hollow meet and greet will finally reopen on June 29th at Disneyland Park. It says the hours will vary, but it appears to be open 5 days a week in July. No posted hours posted on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it does have some dark days. So you're going to want to make sure you search Pixie Hollow in the Disneyland app to make sure you're going there on a day or planning to go on a day where it's there. But we've seen a lot of construction walls around this area. We had no idea what's going on. We do know that it's reopening finally, but we don't know like the premise of like how you'll meet and greet characters there. Like, will they have the additional fairies? They spend a bunch of time refurbishing the different fairy icons in the queue when you're waiting in line for Pixie Hollow. So will we see other fairies like Iridessa, Silver Mist, all that kind of stuff, available to meet and greet as well, like they have been in the past, or will it just be Tinkerbell? We also saw like a special new Tinkerbell that was small and inside like a lantern that guests could interact with that they were testing, I think at like D23 or something. Does it open like that, where she's really small, or is it just a traditional character meet and greet? We had heard on social media that the rumor was that she wouldn't meet and greet anymore, that they were kind of discontinuing the character because of issues the character was having, with other guests, and interactions and things like that. Things being problematic. I'm not quite sure what the rumors were exactly, but it was rumored that it would never come back. We would never get a Tinkerbell meet and greet, whether it was at Disney World or at Disneyland. So this reopening is a pretty huge deal, and I would imagine on the 29th of June, it's going to be an even bigger deal to see kind of what that experience is like. We haven't really had this space open post-pandemic truly, in a way where it's utilized as a meet and greet area. So they've spent a lot of time refurbishing it in recent months, putting walls up, taking them down, putting them up again, all changing all these different things. And we never really know kind of what it's going to be. But now we have a clear date in mind. So starting in a few days after this podcast goes up, we'll finally know what is there and what you can take pictures with, who you can take pictures with, etc. And I'll definitely try to make it over there if I can at some point, and share with you what that's like on a future episode. Next up, in a totally weird move by Disney, they're actually going to be doing ride POVs for the first time ever, official ride POVs. We kind of got our taste of this, right? When Tiana's Bayou Adventure first launched as a brand new attraction over at Walt Disney World, and then later on at Disneyland, we saw official POVs pop up from whether it was their social media team or whatever team they had filming videos for that first POV officially from Disney rather than from some other content creator. Disney has the ability to set up really professional equipment on an attraction to get an incredible POV in a perspective maybe they would want us to get. They got a lot of, not so nice feedback from the Tiana's Bayou Adventure POV, and maybe they've learned a little bit since then, but they're doing brand new 16 different POVs that are going to be professionally filmed and put on Disney Plus, and they'll debut on July 17th, which is Disneyland's 70th anniversary. So it's kind of a way for you to experience Disneyland at home if you're not able to come during Disneyland's 70th anniversary period at all. They're going to have POVs for, I'm going to go through the whole list here, Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones Adventure, which if you ever try to film a POV on that ride, very, very, very difficult. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. Radiator Springs Racers, Incredicoaster, Haunted Mansion, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Maybe it's updated and new. Cars Land, Pixar Pal Around, which is an interesting POV, but cool nonetheless. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Jungle Cruise, Soarin' Around the World. It just says Avengers Campus, Hollywoodland, Main Street USA, Mickey's Toontown, and the Nighttime Spectaculars. So that is going to be super cool to be able to see. It'll be on Disney Plus exclusively. Disney didn't say whether or not it would be coming to a different service like YouTube later on. Right now, it's just exclusive to their Disney Plus streaming platform. So go check that out on the 70th anniversary of Disneyland if you want to get a little taste and you're not able to be there that day. All right, everyone. Next up is the meat and potatoes of this update. I wanted to talk about closures at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure Park. It's been a little bit of time since we talked about closures, and it's a big part of people's planning when it comes to their vacations and trips to Disneyland Resort. We haven't talked about it, like I said, in a little bit, and there's a lot coming up. This is also the busiest time of year for people who are vacationing or making their annual trips. It's going to be that end of summer period, that beginning of fall when Halloween season starts. A lot of attractions are down right now and are currently down with no end sight, listed at least yet. So this could impact your upcoming trip. So I just wanted to share with you so that you can better plan or just have better understandings of what might be closed when you come. So first, I wanted to start off at Disneyland Park first. We, of course, know Pixie Hollow going to be reopening. We just talked about that. It's going to be reopening on June 29th. So sorry, I was like just brain fart there for a moment. On June 29th. So keep that in mind for Pixie Hollow. And then Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room, it's actually slated to reopen on the 2nd. Now, this one's a pretty big deal because Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room has been closed for a while. It was closed during the kickoff of the 70th. This is a very early on original attraction to Disneyland, or one of the originals, not like an opening day, but an original attraction that meant a lot to Walt Disney. It meant a lot to a lot of fans. It means a lot to me. It's my favorite attraction at Disneyland. This, Disney also was saying, was a huge refurbishment when it comes to the outside of the attraction. So they're working on things like in the garden scene outside, where we have all the gods, the tiki gods, and of course Tangaroa himself coming to life in a little pre-show outside in the garden before you go into the tiki room. This was the focus of that renovation. I would imagine anytime soon we're going to see updates on Disney social media or even Disney Parks blog highlighting all the changes that came to the outside of Tiki Room. It's going to be a big deal for them, especially with the 70th just around the corner. They're going to want to highlight some really important original Disneyland attractions, and this is going to be one of them. With some all new changes, it's going to be a huge destination for a lot of people to come visit when they're visiting Disneyland during this iconic celebration year. So I'm excited for it. Again, July 2nd is when it's reopening. This hasn't affected the Tiki Juice stand at all. That's still open this whole time, and it still remains open. It's just going to be the Tiki Room attraction and the exterior garden. It's all opening up soon. I'll be going there on opening day and maybe even beforehand to see if I can catch it a little bit early. But mark your calendars on this one because I'm sure it's going to be all over social media when it debuts because people are going to want to showcase all the new changes. Next up is the Matterhorn bobsleds. Now, this one's a little bit weird. This one kind of closed out of the blue. To me, it didn't really sound like it was a planned refurbishment. It was kind of at a weird time because it's like in the middle of summer. It was right before the kickoff of the 70th anniversary. So it was so weird to have like an iconic original attraction, not an opening day attraction, but still an original attraction to Disneyland, be closed during such an iconic celebration year, and probably closed for both of the important moments of that birthday, being the kickoff celebration and now the upcoming birthday. The Matterhorn at this point has been closed for more than a month. There's no real end date in sight. The last time I was there, looking at the attraction's refurbishment, it didn't look like it was going to be ending anytime soon. There was still a lot of construction. A lot of it's focused around the water features, like the waterfalls and just areas where they're pumping major amounts of water through the attraction to create these illusions. It's a very, very old exterior. It's like, well up there in age, and a lot of it's wood, some of it's metal. So, with things like water mixed in there, you can get a lot of rot and rust and things that need to be updated. So I would imagine that that is a height of focus for them when it comes to the future of this attraction being there and operational and safe to operate and all things like that. So right now it closed on May 5th. It's been closed all of May, all of June. So it's been a really long time, right? And there's no end in sight that I can see currently. Maybe they start to speed things up and it somehow opens for July 17th, but it's not looking that way. And right now it's still listed as kind of like a unknown. So unfortunately, if you are planning to visit for the 70th anniversary, I don't necessarily know that you can count on Matterhorn being open, but maybe they'll surprise us. We'll have to wait and see on this one. But if you're going in the next few weeks, you can probably, it's safe to assume it's not going to be open. Star Tours The Adventures Continue is going to be closing soon at Disneyland as well. This is going to be closing on June 30th. And the amount of closure isn't specifically like highlighted yet on the Disneyland app. So right now it's just listed as like an unknown end date because they haven't updated the app to indicate that. A lot of times they don't really know maybe how long a project's going to be. Not really sure what the updates are going to be on the attraction, but it is going to be down starting June 30th. So keep that in mind if you have upcoming trips planned at Disneyland. Star Tours might not be attractions available to you. And then also over at Fantasyland, we have the Storybook Land Canal Boats. This is an opening day attraction, and it will be open for that iconic birthday week. But shortly thereafter, starting on July 21st, the attraction is slated to go down for a big refurbishment with no end date listed on that one. And that would, of course, coincide with a closure over at Casey Jr. Those attractions are so intertwined that they typically always go down in pairs when it goes to refurbishments. But right now, the Storybook Land Canal Boats will be going down first on July 21st, and then Casey Jr. will follow about a week later on July 28th with its closure. Both of which currently don't have an end date because the app doesn't go out that far yet. So we'll have to keep that in mind. But that wraps up the Disneyland only refurbishment schedule section. And we'll head over now to Disney California Adventure to talk about some of the closures coming there. So over at Disney California Adventure Park, we're going to be seeing closures over at Pixar Pier. Starting with the Pixar Pal Around, it's going to be closing right before Disneyland's 70th anniversary birthday week. It's going to be closing on July 14th, but it's only going to be closed for 10 days, at least now. Of course, all these dates are subject to change, so we got to keep that in mind for everything I've talked about, because Disney could change anything at any time based on the availability of like people who are working on the refurbishments, etc. But right now, it's going to be scheduled to close July 14th to July 24th, and this would include all parts of Pixar Pal Around. So the whole Ferris wheel, not just one type of vehicle, both of them. So swinging and non-swinging would be closed. The Incredicoaster will also be closing just after that one reopens, starting July 28th with no reopening date listed for that one. And then the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail, which is really unsurprising, is closing on the 21st over in the Grizzly Peak area. This is the location of the Villains Grove attraction during Oogie Boogie Bash. So they typically always close this to set up all the set pieces and things that are needed, lighting equipment, etc. for Villains Grove. And they're going to have a lot of different nights for Oogie Boogie Bash, so they got to make sure that's ready and reared to go. So that's closing as well too. The only other closure that's kind of sort of worthwhile mentioning, and we've kind of talked about it on the YouTube before, but that's not necessarily affecting anything, but it kind of affects the way you get around. So because of that closure inside Avengers Campus and Cars Land for the expansion of Avengers Campus, it prevents the flow of traffic between the backside of DCA, so from Cars Land into the back of Avengers Campus, or the back of Avengers Campus directly into Cars Land. That's closed, and it's going to be closed for quite some time as they work on this expansion to Avengers Campus. With that being said, when there is a parade going on, or there's high traffic moments, and there is a parade right now at DCA, it makes going through DCA kind of difficult, almost impossible, until the parade is complete. You can't kind of intertwine around the backside of DCA to get to where you need to go, maybe including outside the park, until the parade is crossed. You really have to wait for those typical cross moments within the parade in order to actually be able to get out if that's what you're looking to do, or cross over to the other side of DCA if you're on one side or the other, because you can't traverse that backside anymore. So just keep that in mind when you're planning. That pathway's not there. So if you have a dining reservation to be at, or you have to go to Disneyland and to get to a dining reservation, or maybe a lightning lane, just keep in mind the parade times at DCA so you don't find yourself stuck in a section of DCA that you can't get out of, which would ultimately make you late for said reservation. So just wanted to mention that as part of the closures as well too. And then lastly, wrapping up the whole closure section, we talked a little bit about in early January, all these changes coming to the hotels of the Disneyland Resort, specifically with the concierge lounges at the Disneyland Hotel and the Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa. And we have an update for the one at the Disneyland Hotel. So the High Key Club, which has replaced the old e-ticket club at Disneyland Hotel, is slated to open next month. We don't know exactly when in the month of July, but it's supposed to open in July. It would be great if it was opened for that July 17th weekend, when a lot of people are going to be here and probably have booked concierge in hopes that they would get it at the same time. The High Key Club is going to be opening all new again in a more larger and expanded space. They actually completely demolished and removed the Fairy Tale Suite to the left of the concierge lounge when you're looking at the entrance door, which had a wraparound window on the corner there of the Disneyland Hotel. So it had a very, very coveted view of the fireworks, and more importantly, that wraparound window that the e-ticket club just didn't have. So it kind of made a lot of guests who are looking to get that fireworks view from the lounge to kind of crowd up against those very left-hand windows in the club, because the club didn't have that wraparound window to kind of really give a great fireworks view to anyone sitting in any part of the club. And now that they've taken that suite out, it's really done that. So they have that big, not only expanded space with having the Fairy Tale Suite gone, but more importantly, that wraparound window, which really gives them the opportunity to have guests seated anywhere in the club and still really have a great view of the fireworks and the nighttime spectaculars coming from Disneyland. You are in the Adventure Tower on the 11th floor, so you already have an amazing view of the entire resort from up there. And it's just now going to be accentuated with the new layout of the club and additional capacity, I'm sure, for them to be able to sell more room availability in the concierge level. So if you're wondering what the High Key Club is, it's the concierge lounge at the Disneyland Hotel. The only way you can access this lounge is if you have a room type that's concierge that has access to the lounge, or if you've booked a suite at the Disneyland Hotel that you've added concierge services onto at check-in. It's not open to the public. You can't make reservations to go there. It's just for guests that have concierge services. A lot of guests like to book that at these hotels, and right now Disneyland Hotel has been using a temporary option in the interim as their club is closed. So a lot of people who regularly visit Disneyland Hotel, especially with these services, are really going to appreciate the fact that this is reopening, and I'm excited to see photos and videos from when it does open for those that get to experience it first. So I'll be on the lookout for this one to talk about it. It looks really, really great from the concept art that we've seen. I really am curious to see if Disneyland's going to be updating the offerings as far as food and beverages inside the lounge after this as well. I'm not a huge fan on the change from e-ticket club to High Key Club. I don't really understand how High Key relates to Disneyland Retro anything at all. Doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand the logic behind the name. Maybe there's a reason they can share later on when it actually opens and they're kind of giving a storyline of it. But I felt like e-ticket club was just so iconic to Disneyland, right? We had the ticket books. E-ticket was like the best experience that you could buy at Disneyland for all the most wanted attractions. So having your best experience at the hotel being called the e-ticket club really just made a lot of sense, and I think was a great name. And maybe, who knows, maybe they change the name back to e-ticket club later on, but for right now it's called the High Key Club. And lastly, for the episode, I wanted to talk about Universal Studios Hollywood, which has some exciting new things and things on the horizon coming. Of course, we're on the edge of haunt season, which is the best time for any theme parks in my opinion. But Universal Mega Movie Summer has started officially in this month on June 13th and goes all the way until August 10th, so right up against their Halloween season. And for Mega Movie Summer, it's kind of for those guests that maybe wanted a little bit more of an extension to all the amazing things they got during FanFest nights. You get a little taste of that, right? They still have some of the menu items from FanFest nights over at like Mel's Drive-In for Back to the Future. They're going to have photo ops for Jaws, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary. They also have photo ops from Back to the Future that we also saw at FanFest nights, including some of the character meet and greets, like the dog and Doc Brown and Marty that we saw during FanFest nights. We'll see also in Mega Movie Summer. They're also celebrating Jurassic World Rebirth, which is their brand new movie that's coming out this summer, with some changes over in the Jurassic World area of the park. They're going to have a whole new way to experience the Jurassic World the ride, which basically means if you're going on Jurassic World the ride during this period, you will get soaked. There's no section that you won't get soaked in. You're going to get soaked no matter what. So if you want to experience it, bring a poncho, or if you don't care that you're going to get soaked because it's really hot on the day that you're going, just know that. So there's no longer a seat that's safe anymore. You're just going to get completely drenched. That's just the way it goes for that attraction. They also have new character meet and greets in the Jurassic World area, new food items, fun new scavenger hunts that you can do, and a bunch of new merchandise to celebrate Jurassic World Rebirth. So it's really, really exciting. Lots of different things that you can see and do like they've never had at Universal Studios. I think it's cool that they're offering this as just regular daytime plus-ups, right? It's not like additional ticket. It's just part of your experience going to Universal Studios Hollywood. So if you haven't already, that's going to be for any ticket that's going to Universal Studios during that whole period, June 13th through August 10th. There's no extra ticket if you're going to Universal Studios anytime during that period. You just have access to Universal Mega Movie Summer and all the special things that they're doing for that. But next up, I wanted to talk about Halloween Horror Nights. Now, just like in prior years with Halloween Horror Nights, we have 8 different mazes and 1 Terror Tram experience. So there's like 9 different things you can do while you're at Halloween Horror Nights. They've already announced some of the IPs that are coming to the event, and we also know the dates thanks to the calendar they shared earlier this year. So we know Halloween Horror Nights is going to be September 4th through November 2nd, and tickets are already on sale. So if you are interested in going on opening night and you want to score those very, very sellout quick things like the RIP tour, which is their VIP tour, their Express and Unlimited Express, the early entry for those iconic dates like opening night, like Halloween, like, the first day of October, any of the things that people want to get, go buy those tickets now. They're already on sale and they will sell out for those specific days. So keep that in mind, including the frequent fear pass, which lets you go to almost every single night of Halloween Horror Nights. So yeah, tickets are already on sale. What we've experienced so far as announcements, the most recent one was Jason Universe, which we talked about a little bit already. That is like a maze kind of celebrating Jason in all the films that he's had. It's kind of a mashup of different, I guess, movies or the Jasons of the universe. Like the maze itself is called Jason Universe. So it's going to be essentially all the different Jason versions, I guess, in one maze. A lot of people are excited about this one. I've never been a huge Friday the 13th or Jason fan, so I'm not as excited for this one, but I know it's going to be good. They always do a great job with their mazes for any of their iconic franchises, and this will be no exception, right? The next one they announced was Fallout, which is a massively popular video game, and also an online show, much like Last of Us was, right? And it's a video game first, then it became an online show or a streaming show and got some popularity. So Fallout will be another experience coming to Halloween Horror Nights. And then a lot of people were excited the fact that Five Nights at Freddy's was coming, including myself. I'm a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I love the storyline around the video game. Then it became a movie, which had its own fanfare separate to the video game. And people are excited. I think these are 4 amazing, or 3 right now, amazing different experiences that we're getting for Halloween Horror Nights, with so many more rumored to be coming out. On the day that this was being recorded, there was supposed to be more announcements, and we still haven't gotten those just yet. But there's so many rumors surrounding Halloween Horror Nights, but the 3 things that we know so far are already meaning that this is going to be a super iconic year for Halloween Horror Nights. And we're also hearing a lot of rumors from Knott's Berry Farm too on there. So we'll talk about that on a different episode. But I'm excited for Halloween Horror Nights. I think this might be my first year because of what we got announced so far that I might get the frequent fear pass. I live in Orange County, so I don't live anywhere close to Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Studios Hollywood. So it's going to be a trek for me to kind of go multiple times to get my money's worth. But I feel like if there was ever a year to do it, this is the year. All right, but that wraps up this episode of the 5571 podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, I really appreciate it. Make sure you leave a like on the YouTube video. Make sure you subscribe for future videos and podcast episodes. And then leave a comment below about some of the things we talked about, what you're excited for, closures you didn't know were happening, etc. There's a lot of things coming up at Disneyland that I'm going to be talking about, including the 70th anniversary on July 17th, which I'll definitely be there to discuss that. But we have a lot more things between now and then. But thank you so much for watching or listening, whatever you're doing. And I'll see you on the next episode of the 5571 podcast. Bye, everyone.